Hi, Angela here. I just have a couple notes on this episode before we get started. There is a very light trigger warning here when it comes to mentions of sexual assault, sexual coercion, and assault against minors. We don't go in depth in any of those topics, but there are mentions of it. So if that is triggering to you for any reason, make sure that you skip past the 23 to 29-minute mark. And my second note is that originally I had scheduled this conversation with Dave to be about red flags in gym culture. But looking upon the amazing conversations and topics that we touched upon during this episode, it would be more suitable to have this episode topic be on gym cultures as a whole rather than just specific red flags. But we do mention a lot of red flags. So without further ado, please enjoy this episode.
All right, welcome back to Ying the podcast. I'm your host, Angela Chang, and today I'm here with my good friend, Dave.
Hey.
Dave is one of the owners at the Old Guard Thai Boxing Club in Austin, Texas, and it's one of my favorite places to go to every time I go back to the US. So I'm really, really happy to have Dave here today.
Thank you, Angela. It's really cool to be here. When you reached out last week, I was super stoked. I don't normally do like interviews and podcasts. I've done one ever with my pal, Jonathan Pu'u, and that was years ago. So hopefully I've got good stuff to say since that time.
I'm sure you do. Well, you've also matured a lot, I think, as both a business owner, coach, and you've learned a lot during your time from the conception of your gym all the way up until now. And this is just from our personal conversations, but also, Jonathan runs a really amazing podcast. So if that was your first podcast, then he sets the standards pretty damn high.
Yeah, I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it.
So today our topic of discussion is going to be red flags or potential red flags in gym culture. And this is a topic that me and you and also a few other members from your gym that it seems to be these topics of conversations when we are having our hangout time, getting dinner, getting coffee, whatever it is, this always comes up as a recurring topic for all of us.
It's a good topic. And I think you're right. One of the things that I've matured in or learned in my time, and we're now into our 5th year at the Old Guard. We just had our 4-year anniversary party this month, and it's been a lot. I mean, the gym's growth has been one thing, membership growth has been one thing, but watching our culture evolve to what it is today, it's been a very intentional 4 years on my part, if not exhausting, to get it to that point where you feel that the gym has an overall vibe to it that is welcoming, that isn't, I guess you learn from traveling, you learn from seeing other gyms, right? So you pick up things that are really good, pick up things that's like, we could do better at that, or I can make an effort here or there. I take all these things that are good and bad, and those are my learnings as I try to create an environment that I would want to train in, but also borrowing best practices from others and trying to improve on practices from others as well, I think has helped us a lot in establishing that culture.
I was just telling this right before we started recording that your gym is one of the best gyms that I've been to, full stop, anywhere in the world in terms of gym culture, but also you're holding everyone to such a high standard for training, but also to be the best kind of person that they can be. Like you make everyone take responsibility for everything it is that they do. And because everyone is in this collective effort of I can just show up as myself and I want to put my best face, best foot, best effort forward. It's this kind of community. So it's very aptly named as a club because everyone's there because they want to be. I remember close to when we first met, you told me one of the reasons why you started the Old Guard is because you yourself have had quite a number of terrible experiences with Muay Thai gym culture.
Yeah, and those are both personal experiences as well as just observations with interactions with others. And so to distill it now at year 4, how I think about it, and when I'm thinking about ways to do things better, looking back at where we started or why I started, the core of it remains the same. And that's that I wanted to do things differently. You see, again, I'm coming back to best practices. I picked up a lot of good stuff at the gyms that I visited, the gyms that I trained at. And then you pick up things that you go, yeah, maybe I'm not comfortable with that. And so looking at that and fast forward 4 years, the truth remains the same. That core value is that we want to do it differently. And I've somewhat let go of that let me use a different gym or a former gym as a baseline for doing it differently. Now, seeing so many other gyms, having so many other peers that I communicate with daily, whether it's through WBC or just visiting gyms, people dropping in at my gym. I'm going to visit others. I went out to Bermuda recently to hang out with one of my former opponents because he was great. And I saw what his gym did and how they did things. And now I'm looking at that through a critical eye of like, can I bring these things back to my gym? Or if they do this, how could we do that a little bit differently? And really pick up the slack that I see, and maybe that's a bad term for it, but pick up the slack that I see in general in Muay Thai communities or in Muay Thai gyms. Always striving to do it better. Just if you're not looking at trying to make improvements day over day and you become stale and you're not connected with what issues are out there currently. The world is such a crazy place right now, but I mean, one of the big things that's popping up is like a welcoming environments for all genders. That's an easy one to take a look at right on the surface. And it's, there's some things that seem simple to me that may not be simple to others, but like a good friend of mine, Abby Lucas, up in the Pac Northwest right now, she said to me one of the last times we chatted, it means a lot to me to walk into a gym and see a coaching staff that reflects me. And I think that's such a cool thing and a way to kind of distill that thought down. If your coaching staff, for lack of better terms, is just a bunch of white dudes, then you might start to want to look at why that is. Who are you attracting as your customer base? Who are you attracting and why is it that it's only those guys walking through the door? So I try to think about these things, and I know I'm kind of going off on tangents to answer the question. But yeah, my former experiences, they weren't all bad, but the pieces that made me want to open the old guard were enough to say, like, if I had the opportunity to have a gym, I would do these things differently. And I still hold to that today. And certain people like certain gym cultures, you're right. We do work really hard at the old guard. Like it physically, it's demanding. And I think any Muay Thai program should have that physicality to it, but the accountability behind it as well. It's there for everybody. It's a uniform platform that the expectations aren't different for you, Angela, than they are for me. As a coach to a student, I try to be out there training with my students as much as I can. I'm staying fresh physically. And then, like I said, staying fresh mentally, just knowing or being in tune to what's happening in gyms around the world or what's the current atmosphere for different issues. And are we addressing that at the old guard or have we missed that? And if we've missed it, what are we doing to catch up on that and do something good with it? So yeah, you definitely take those experiences and try to, you try to do better. And that's really what we're doing every day. I know some of that's kind of non-specific, but I hope that helps start our conversation here.
Yeah. I mean, I know you apologize for going off on those tangents, but honestly, it makes so much sense because there are a lot of layers to it, and there is just no one simple way to answer such a non-specific question, right? So I hope that whoever is listening is appreciative that you're putting so much thought and seeing it from so many angles rather than just, like you're saying, copying and pasting what everyone else is doing or copying some trend and jumping on the bandwagon, but not like fully understanding what it is or trying to understand what it is and things like that. But at the same time, yes, a lot of the things we mentioned, I think we can all resonate with it on a certain level, but it would definitely help to get into some specific things for sure. I found Muay Thai when I was like 19, right before I turned 20. And this was before I did a lot of my growth as a person. I would say I was always really tough and really resilient. And that's one of the things that made me stick with Muay Thai for so long. But I do also have to say, like looking back, that toughness and resiliency is what also made me put up with a lot of crap during my Muay Thai career. And like you said, not all of it is bad, not all parts of it. Some of it is coming from a good place, some of it isn't. Some of it that comes from a good place can have bad consequences and vice versa. So just from what you said, I was just thinking a lot about my own experiences with Muay Thai and how that underlying toughness and resiliency that I had and that never give up attitude also made me stick around coaches that were not just tough. I'm okay with tough, but I think tough to the point now that I see as toxic and problematic. And I know that toxic word is being thrown around a lot, but I guess more specifically, when I say toxic, it's like coaches that were led way more with their ego and their sense of control rather than what was best for the class or the business or for their students.
Yeah, the thing that I was very conscious of when designing program for the old guard and the culture around it, it's difficult to say, difficult for the listener to understand when I say, the culture is for largely just me being me. So let me back up and address the question or your thought there. The resiliency that I had in my first many years in Muay Thai was it sounded very similar to what you were describing. I had a lot of good stuff. I learned a lot. Also, there was some things that I just didn't feel right, the way that I was being coached, the way that I was approached in various situations. But what came with that was I hate to say I didn't know any better, but I didn't know any better, right? So you think like, well, this is a really hard sport to learn. It's physically demanding. Mentally, I've never pushed myself this hard in my life. So I'm feeling stronger. Who's making me stronger? My coach. Is that a truth? Yes, that's an absolute truth. But again, it's just there's that inner feeling of like, man, that just seemed a little bit aggressive. Or, hey, that seemed a little bit off for whatever reason. But you come back to this feeling of, but I'm tough, right? Because I don't know if I was tough before, but now I'm tough. And that's part of the program because I've never really had a different coach. And this is what I mean when I say, travel to other gyms, check out other gyms. When I started doing that, and there's a different vibe when it's not your immediate coach. Maybe you're just dropping in at a gym. You're there for a day, maybe a week, a month, whatever it is. It's like, okay, well, you're a guest. But at the same time, if you're observative, you can look around and be like, okay, well, I'm not getting extra special treatment just because I'm a guest. It seems that they run their gym this way. And that way is different than the way that I've known. Is it good? Some things feel good to me about that. Yeah, different can be good, but then reflect back on, well, what does my gym do that's actually, bothersome to me? Or why did that hurt my feelings? Or why did that make me feel a certain way in that moment when I was having an interaction with my coach? And there's instances that I don't know are worth bringing up, like specific, but having those interactions and almost feeling like you can't leave the gym to go check out other gyms because there might be something underneath that. Oh, if you go over there, be careful. They spar hard. Well, I appreciate the heads up, but I'd also like to go over there and get different looks. The heads up about maybe like sparring hard or whatever it might be seem less like a warning out of care and more out of, you should probably just stick with us. Like, because going to other gyms isn't going to give you anything more than what we can give you.
Mm-hmm.
And that once I started to check out other gyms, Chicago, New York, California, just visiting places, and then of course Thailand. I mean, that just totally changed my perspective on everything. And the culture is extraordinarily different there. So it should be a given that would be different. But once you start seeing what others are doing and realizing that there is no one way to do it, and most oftentimes I was told that there was one way, you believe that and you take it as gospel. And then you start to open up and go, well, maybe that's not the case. And this way does feel good. This different gym I'm exposed to now, it feels really wholesome. It feels really good. And maybe that's what I personally identify with more. Before you and I got on the call today, we were talking a little bit about that. Like, people are going to see this through a different lens depending on who they are. I can do my best, Angela, to create a culture that I believe is supportive, fair, hardworking, and surround myself with good coaches that are going to help me with that. And there's always going to be somebody that doesn't take to it. There's only so much I can do with that.
Everyone has different values. And sure, there are a few things that we can hopefully all of us can agree on, like, this is good, stick with this. This is really bad. Don't mess with this. Don't ever do this, right? But then underneath it all, we as people have different life histories, different little T traumas, big T traumas. And just depending on what all of those are, which is already so different for everyone, every gym's culture is going to rub someone a different way. Something that you value deeply and you put so much effort in, that someone else who doesn't value like camaraderie or diversity and things like that, they're not going to see like that gym or that culture is like, is this a fit for me? I'm not really sure. That's also part of the reason why like I'm really, really hesitant to give out like gym reviews, because there is nothing I can say that's like, oh, this is good and can apply to every single person in the world. There's just no way, right? So like even for me as a pro fighter living in Thailand for 10 years, you take another woman pro fighter who's been living in Thailand 10 years, you put us in the same environment, we might not have the same view on it. And that's just because we're different people. We might like different things. We have different needs. We learn differently. And then that I feel like is even magnified more so in the US, because
Mhm.
in Thailand, there is a lot of unifying factors in a lot of the gyms. Like you can kind of typically what to expect in terms of like training structure, training outline. But I feel like in the US, it's really whatever it is that the coach, the owner makes it to be. So there's a little bit more of like a X factor to each of the gyms in the US.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And one thing that I try to do just at the old guard is when people are sitting down to talk about membership, you can kind of pick up how people are feeling when they're in their trial. Take a look over. It doesn't take much to see, okay, like they're really digging it, they're laughing, or they're not having a great time. So I'm always curious as to what brings people in. And in having those conversations, I'm more than happy to recommend a gym to somebody that might be a better fit for them. I'm not here to sign you up or convince you that Old Guard is the right spot for you. And I hope gyms do this, but there's folks that'll sit down with me and say, hey, man, I'm really looking for a place that I can spar hard. And I'll go, okay, I've got a couple boxing gyms I can recommend, and there's a Muay Thai gym that I know. We don't do that here, but if that's what you're looking for, then I can recommend places. And I think it's fair. And what that also does is keep my culture intact. What I'm looking for and what I'm trying to build in that safe environment. I mean, you look at it on a very simplistic level. We're all amateur fighters over here, and we got to go to work on Monday. 99% of us are going to work on Monday. So am I trying to rack up CTE points just because I'm sparring on Tuesday? Really, I'm not. Looking at some other things kind of in that vein, like the red flag culture. I mean, one thing that I would say, if you walk into a gym, check out basic things like, are the bathrooms clean? Do they take pride in the space? Did anybody welcome you in? If often, let's say at Old Guard, I don't have a front desk person because we're a smaller boutique gym. So if nobody's at the front, people have a tendency to walk around the little threshold and kind of peek in. If I don't jump up and go say hi to them, to me, I'm losing something in that interaction. So are you being welcomed into the gym? Do they take pride in the place? Are the pads dusty and gross? Are the floors nasty? Or, are you really seeing a place that looks like the owner wants to be there and wants to make it like the physical environment also welcoming too? Those are really big things for me. And
And
then
not
some
have
other
it closed due to a health violation.
yeah, yeah. Oh boy. I had to close one day because they turned our water off. There was some plumbing issue in the neighborhood, and I was so embarrassed because I was like, it's weird to try and explain that to somebody. And anyway, but yeah, I mean, some other things to take a look at, like are the members standing around 15 minutes, 20 minutes before class, chatting each other up? Are they laughing? Are they having a good time? Are people warming up? Are people just sitting around and not knowing what to do? Does it look like there's skill in the room? And does it also look like there's room for people who are brand new to be welcomed in to learn that skill? Basically, if I were to simplify it, is the environment welcoming when you walk through the door? And I can't say that, 100% of the time that I've nailed that expectation for myself. But if you're seeing things that give you apprehension when you walk through, are you asking questions about it? Are you taking the rest of your time to observe how that gym actually operates? I look at, are people communicative with each other? Do they seem like they're having a good time? When you're looking at the class off to the left, when you're taking your trial class, is the instructor giving good information or is he just barking at people? Is he on his phone, sitting off to the side, texting while everybody's drilling? Or is he walking around, he or she walking around giving information and feedback to try and help everybody grow? Engagement is important in leadership. And if that engagement isn't there, if you don't feel welcome, if the environment's gross and it just looks like they're skating by, like those are things that I look for. I have seen that in other gyms that I've visited. And again, you take those experiences and what's good, what's bad, how can I make sure that, I don't fall short of that expectation of myself when delivering that experience for my members?
There's a lot of psychology behind it too, with like if someone is brand new, doesn't know a single person, and is brave enough to go into a place that a lot of people find intimidating, doesn't matter who you are, like life experiences, going to a place where people are like kicking and hitting each other and then trying to be part of that or potentially be a part of that, it takes a lot of courage to like drive yourself there, open the door and ask for information. So then like if you show up and people see that you're there and no one gives two craps that you're there and you're ignored, it's just like, well, I guess this is not going to be the time, or maybe this is not the space for me. And right there and then they make the decision that, oh, maybe Muay Thai gym culture is just not for me. Let me go try something else. And that to me is just, it's so sad because Muay Thai has given me so much. And sure, not all of it was rainbows and butterflies, but there is just like, I cannot imagine what my life and who I would be without starting that journey.
Yeah.
And for that potential of like, even that person never fights, but like community, a sense of support, a sense of structure, just a place to like go in, be yourself and better yourself through something incremental, get your little win of the day. It just makes me sad when someone loses the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Something that's on my mind too in looking at the overall when you walk through those doors, and maybe you don't pick up on this immediately because it's more of a sub content thing, but is there safety in the gym such that coaches are not dating students, hooking up with students? That is a really big one. And not being heavily connected to the MMA world and the jiu-jitsu world, I do see things that here and there come across my social feed when I'm actually on social. I see a lot of that in those sectors, but I also don't believe that Muay Thai gyms are exempt from that kind of stuff
Yes.
either. And so looking at it in my swim lane, which is Muay Thai, of course, does your gym have procedures, policies, anything in place to say coaches cannot be physically interacting with students in a sexual manner, in a relationship manner? And this is so relevant right now. I just brought on a new coach, and it's one of the conversations that I have with every new coach that I bring on. It's very, very simple rules. Do not play around with students outside of the gym as far as relationship stuff goes. Oh, hey, we're not dating, we're not official, we just made out one or two times. Not okay. Like, we don't do that. There is a certain power dynamic with being a coach, amongst other issues that you may have there, that just don't cross that line. So if you walk in and you see coaches being inappropriate with students of any gender to any gender, it doesn't sit well with me. One of the parts that I told Nick, and I've told others that come on with me, if you find a love of your life in the gym and you just know it deep down in your heart and they know it, and you guys are just on a different astral plane together, come talk to me about it. And I will find a better gym for you or your partner. And you guys can carry on and get married and be super happy about it. And there's no ill will. But you cannot, I will not allow that in the gym. I just don't. And I think that's very important to maintain a culture that it doesn't feel tense. We're having relationship problems today. He or she wasn't, whatever it may be that happened outside of the gym, that stuff can trickle into the gym, and it doesn't have to be so obvious. That underlying tension or feeling when people are not getting on in their relationship, especially from coach to student, like the dynamic there just ruins the whole vibe in the room. And I won't do it. So that's one of the things that I'm very adamant about. And it seems to be a simple thing, but I'm also quite disheartened when I read about this stuff and it pops up. But again, Muay Thai is not exempt from that. And I want to make sure that that's one of the things that I'm heavily, heavily strict on at the old guard.
Yeah, a lot of people make the argument of, but it's two consenting adults. But I, I really, really want to stress the point that you made about power, because I don't really think a lot of people understand how much that disadvantages someone when they're not in a position of power. Even if they're not conscious of it at all, it does affect them, whether or not they know it. So when it comes to like, personal matters and dating and things like that, there's always going to be something going on that you're not conscious of in that moment.
Mhm.
And what you're implementing, that policy, a lot of gyms aren't implementing something so specific like that. I know that there are gyms that say like, hey, you can't treat this place as like your Tinder dating ground, right?
Yeah.
But you're taking the extra step further of like, you can't date, you can't be in a relationship with a student.
No.
And that goes back to the power thing, because that same power thing is what drives a lot of predatory behavior when it comes to like pursuing minors, assaulting minors, and also when it comes to holding that over a person in order to get something like extra coaching, more attention, or whatever it is.
Yep.
And what's fascinating to me is that because I know you and I know the standard that you hold yourself, your gym, and all of your staff members to, that if you never implemented something like that, I would just think like Dave got it. Like Dave just like he has it all under control because of the people he picked. He trusts them enough in that way to not be someone who abuses their power. But I also love that you're just transparent about it. You're like, this is who we are as a culture from the inside and the outside. This is not just something I'm throwing in willy-nilly to like protect us from lawsuits or whatever. You're like, this is a part of who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it may sound extreme to some, but I'll tell you what works even with my wife, Tiffany, and I. I met her in college when she was 21 and I was 23 or 22. I think I had just graduated or something. Nonetheless, we didn't start Muay Thai till she was 34. I was 36. So you take a relationship that was already established and then you drop it into a gym and now we're training together. At OG, like I will say it straight up, Coach Spencer is a way better coach for Tiffany than I am. Even though we are a great married, loving couple, we've been together for 20 plus years. When it comes to helping her prep for fights or helping her through a camp or reach her goals, whatever she's doing, I mean, Spencer does way better at that than I do. And that's like, again, it sounds extreme, like, well, I won't work with my wife. That's not the case. It's just that the reception in that environment from me to her being in a relationship, it's way better received from Spencer, Crystal, anybody. Rachel, she loves working with Rachel too. So it's like, again, that may sound extreme. And I don't think that that's an intentional piece, but that's something between Tiffany and I that I'm like, the dynamic between us at home and the dynamic between us at the gym, it's great in both places, but there are different needs in different environments. And those needs are best met by somebody else when she's in the gym. And she knows that too. It's probably been like 5 or 6 years since we've even sparred together, like, had a round. And some relationships, you all can do it. Congratulations. That's fantastic. But, the smallest frustration is going to manifest in the gym. If anything happens weird in sparring, I accidentally catch her with something goofy, or she catches me with something goofy, I don't want to be walking around pissy for the rest of the day in class, So I do take that to a different level, but again, it's to curate Tiffany's experience in the gym as well as keep our environment just positive and not have any weirdness about it. On the flip side, Coach Spencer and his partner, Sophia, they work together awesome. I see them working together all the time. And that is, again, a relationship that predates coming into the gym. Going back to that issue of or concern of having a power dynamic. People walk through the gym doors for different reasons. Whatever those reasons are, they're trying to find something that's going to build them up and give them confidence. Right? If the person in a position of power exhibits that confidence and gives that to them and then turns it around and tries to turn it into a sexual relationship, that's the issue. And that it doesn't matter gender, but people are walking through that door to find something. And if you're the person they're looking to and they trust to give them that something, I feel that trust is broken when you flip it on the other side and go, hey, like, why don't you come over for dinner? We can talk more about this. If those type of advances are refused, what's the reaction that you get? I think you kind of alluded to this or mentioned it. Do you get less attention in the gym? Are you no longer the coach's favorite? Does he or she no longer hold pads for you anymore? And you're seeing everybody else get attention and now you're kind of off to the sidelines wondering why. That kind of stuff doesn't sit well with me either as it pertains to just having that power dynamic. And if the coach doesn't get what they want when they ask for it, then turning it back around on the student as if it's the student's fault. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes complete sense. I was just thinking about like, I see a lot of people, especially in Thailand, where it is pretty normal for a lot of the coaches to be dating, especially the foreigner students that come in and things like that. I'm not saying everyone because I don't want to generalize, but I definitely do know specific people who were the student and purposely accepted these advances because they knew they would get better something, better of their money's worth for training, more care, more attention, more whatever. So knowingly entering a dynamic like that and kind of like putting yourself in this vulnerable position romantically, sexually for a person, for something that should be objectively like, those things shouldn't be conditional. The only condition to getting more attention and more care is how much you give a shit when you train. If you give more shit, then I'll give more shit. It's not if you stick with me, then I'll give more of a shit for you. That might also be like something that some people are like about, but that also really has to be said. Please unpack it somewhere to also just realize you putting yourself at a disadvantage like that. Anyway, before I go on a tangent, Yeah, like what you were saying about the relationship, like every relationship is different. I do think compartmentalization is really good for a lot of people. And it
Hmm.
just reminds me of what my dad said to me when I was younger. He said he had to teach his brother's wife to drive because when his brother was teaching his own wife to drive, he would get irrationally angry at
Yeah.
her, because I guess, again, back to the subconscious, he would expect his wife to automatically know what it is that he was talking about, referring to, because they've been together for so long. And I can totally see a dynamic like that unfolding into Muay Thai, whether or
Hmm.
not someone wants it to or not. It's also a great reflection on a existing relationship for two people to walk into the same space and be like, we're going to do our own thing separately with different people, because it shows how secure you are as people and as a
Yeah.
couple. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we figured that out early. Tiffany and I did.
Yeah.
And it's been good. And maybe that's one of the reasons we've stayed in the sport for so long. Yeah, we do compartmentalize that. She's a marathon runner, she's a triathlete. Before she even stepped into the Muay Thai gym, she's like, I know it's your thing, but it sounds really cool. Is it okay if I try it? I'm like, yeah, of course you can try it. And here we are so many years later and she's doing great. We're doing great with it. One thing you said that just really hit me was, if you want more from me as your coach, then show me that you're engaged in what we're teaching you from day to day. And I have this simple saying: if you take one step towards me, I'll take two steps towards you. And I mean that as purest as it can be. If you really want to pick up your training, if you want to get better at this, I don't ask anything of you except be engaged in class when I'm teaching. My mind floats when I do jump into class and I find myself being that student. What was the drill? I get that. That happens to everybody. But giving your best, once you get that clarification, asking questions is okay. When you get that clarification, are you doing something with it? And are you really giving effort? Or day after day, month after month, are you giving the same amount of 10, 20% energy when you walk in the gym? The room and the energy that exists in that room, like, everybody should realize that you're a part of that. So, like, yeah, hey, Dave's always holding pads for whoever, Fighter X. Yeah, Fighter X may have a fight coming up, so it's important to do that right now. But when Fighter X is not have a fight coming up, if they give me 110%, which most fighters do, they might get a pad session here and there throughout the week. But I try to do the same with my members. Again, when I have that engagement, we're odd out in a pads class. Let me grab the person that's been here for a couple months, that's been showing up super consistent and trying their best, right? I don't hold pads for the best people in the gym. I hold pads for the most engaged people in the gym. That's my give back to you when you give to me and you give to your peers that are standing around, also struggling through trying to make it through the hour because it is demanding. Give us your best and we'll give you your best back. And I don't think that's unfair. I try to keep it that way anyway.
No, I like that because that keeps everything within the confines of Muay Thai. There are no lines being blurred into other areas of their life. Everything is just like, hey, you show up here, you show that you respect me, you respect the space, and you're here to learn, you're here to get what it is that you paid for. I'll give you a little bit more when it comes to Muay Thai. And that's just very neat boundaries too. So I really, really like that, the way you approach it.
Well, thank you. I try to stay humble and servant leadership. Lead from the front, right? Like, I scrub toilets every other week, and when I'm not scrubbing them, Coach Spencer's scrubbing them. Like, we are in tune with the gym on just about every level when you walk into that room and go like, oh, hey, they got clean bathrooms. I don't pay people to come in and clean them. I do that, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And so I take pride in the fact that if you come in and appreciate what we're doing to curate an environment, you give me something back, I'm definitely going to give it back to you. And there's no other expectation attached to that at all. I do try to be in line with my students as much as I can be, but also recognizing that I have, duties to run the business at the same time. What else have we got out there? Because I want to touch on some red flags here, Angela.
Yeah, yeah. I was literally just about to bring up that just several weeks ago, I had made like one of the social media carousels and stuff. I would like to share some of the points I had on the carousel and see what your thoughts are, if you have any
Okay.
stories you want to share. So the first one that I had was the walking on eggshells dynamic. We can also call it like the mood ring coach. So this is the coach where they're in a bad mood because of something that happened to them. Could be inside the gym, could be out the gym, but now everyone in the gym has to suffer. Everyone in the gym has to tiptoe around their feelings and make sure that they're not doing anything to set them off. Um, I feel like this is so many of the coaches I've had. I don't know what that says about the industry, the community, but I haven't really had a lot of coaches who are self-aware enough to be like, actually, you know what? This doesn't have anything to do with the student. Let me not take it out on them. I think out of all the coaches I've had, I've probably only met like one or two that had that inkling of a thought.
I'll start off by saying this. This one hits close to home. I'm not immune to being moody. Okay. I am
Mhm,
human.
mhm,
And I have been guilty of this in the gym, right? I'm not perfect. I do my best every day. But from a personal perspective, yeah, the mood ring coach that, you did something to disappoint them 2 weeks ago, whatever that might be. And now 2 weeks later, you're still feeling like you're on the outs or something. Or yeah, the mood changes in the room because I'm a moody coach today because of that thing that happened 2 weeks ago, and that person walked in, and now I'm frustrated with them, and everybody's getting the same frustration today. Like it's not a positive environment to learn in. And when I think about the time that I personally have with any of our members, it's for a lot of folks in the fundamentals class, it's 1 hour. That's what we have together. So if I can do my best to let that roll, handle that emotionally later, whatever feelings, thoughts, emotions I have about that, give my best for an hour to everybody in the room. Oh man, I tell you, by the end of that hour, my spirits are picked up. Um, and it really does help to elevate the room as a whole. And then another thing, I'll just be honest with you guys out there. Shit, I've been going to a therapist myself for the past year. And I think it's important to do that. I grew up in a very traditional, I won't say extraordinarily macho, kind of man-led environment. I was raised by my mother, but the
mhm,
men in my family are very tough. They're very stuff it down. They're salty. We can get past this. We're men. We walk it off. Yeah, I realized at age 43 that that's probably not the best thing to do. And I can say that from even just talking about things with a therapist has really helped me just do better in general around the gym. I think my mood is elevated now that I'm starting to process some things. And I think those things are important. So if you find that that your coach is maybe you're walking on eggshells every time you walk in, I think if you don't have a self-aware enough coach that is going out trying to make themselves better, to do better with that, then maybe that environment is probably not the right place to be for you. And there's no obligation that you have to stick around and give them any quarter of, oh, yeah, I mean, it's not all the time, but it's sometimes. And when it is sometimes, it's bad, but it's really not that bad. When you start going through that thought process of reasoning it to yourself to why you should stay, oh, well, the other Muay Thai gyms in town maybe don't offer this or that. But do you know? Have you been in there? Have you spent some time at those other Muay Thai gyms? Do you know what that culture really is? Or have you just heard stories about it? I just don't think that there's any obligation beyond paying your monthly dues to stick around with a coach or a gym that isn't meeting your needs or that makes you feel a certain way when you walk in that gym. And that may be walking on eggshells because they're moody that day, you
mhm.
know. But anyway, through a little bit of personal experience in there, and yeah, I'm proud to say it. Like, I'm a pretty laid back, easygoing guy, but I'm learning how to address that short fuse now. And I think that has been like super, super positive, or elevated the environment that I believe to be positive in the first place.
Mhm. You
And
made so many great points. And first of all, I love that you're going to therapy. I think everyone should. The way that we should all work out to like take care of our bodies, the way that we should work on our mobilities and stretch. That's basically what therapy is for our inner selves. And I can say also for myself that I've become a much better person. I've processed a lot of stuff. And also, in general, I'm a lot happier
yeah,
because I'm not just holding on to shit from a long time ago and bringing it into my present and just like making it something that it currently is not. The second part is everyone has their days. And I never ever want to be like, to anyone who's listening, like, oh, your coach has to be happy all the time and be super accommodating. No, no, no. Your coach is also a person. And it's unfair for anyone to think of their coach as like someone who's perfect because no one is. And it's not fair to hold someone to that standard. So it's more of a like, are you acting more of an emotional buffer compared to being a student? And once someone gets the answer to that question, it can point them in the direction of exactly what you said. Once you start trying to justify certain things about like your emotional safety and how you're feeling in the gym, that's not even about the Muay Thai. That is probably indicative of a bigger issue.
Completely agree.
Yeah. The second point, some gyms, they really don't care about you, and you feel like they don't care about you unless you are part of their fight team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you're paying, you're a member, but you're not getting even like, don't get me wrong, the fight team, of course, has to train at a different intensity and has different goals and stuff. But if like a hobbyist feels like they're kind of just being brushed off all the time and they can't ask questions or they're not worthy of a little bit of extra attention every now and then, they feel like they need to like make that fight team. That's also a red flag to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was something very intentional when we opened to, I don't want to say keep them separate, but fight team training's over there. Everything that we do for our hobbyists, everybody that wants to come in and get a good workout, whatever their reasons are for coming in, that is I'd say probably 90% of our gym's culture and structure is focused there. The 10% for fight team, they get a lot of extra work, but it's not at the expense of our members because I do delineate and keep those things for the most part separate. The part that isn't separate is my expectation of my fight team members to jump into regular classes. They're in fundamentals, they're in our intermediate classes. They don't just show up for their own work and leave. My expectation with any of my fighters is to jump in and work with new folks in our fundamental level class. For me, it's a neat thing to see somebody that's been there 2 weeks, and you always have that feeling when you're the newbie, like, oh, I don't want to hold anybody back. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't hold pads good. Whatever it is, you try to get rid of that early on and say, like, everybody, including my fighters, is here to help you. And that is an ask that I have of them. Go in and grab somebody that you don't know and walk them through some stuff today. Make them feel important. Because it's neat for me as a student to look over there and go like, oh man, I idolize Spencer as a professional Muay Thai fighter. He's so cool, but I've never even said a word to him. No. And then Spencer comes over a day later and works with me. Like that just, to me, when I see it happening, if it would happen to me personally, it would warm my heart. That's my heart. But I would like to think that the expectations I have laid out for the fighters really warms others' hearts too. And my fight team is so patient and so willing to help. And establishing that early on was important. And I have folks that are joining our fight team practices now. I talk to them before they even show up, like, hey, we do a lot of our work early Saturday morning. When you're done from 9 to 11, it's not time for you to just leave the gym. My expectation is that you give me 9 to 12. You stick around from 11 to 12 in our fundamentals and you grab somebody you don't know and you help them along, because one day that person, I hope, is going to be on the fight team as well if they have that goal. And if not, then they just had a blast working with somebody who's really good holding pads or teaching them technique, helping them through the drills. It seems like a little thing to me, but none of my fighters have ever looked back at me and gone like, yeah, I'm not really into that, man. Because if that was the response, then again, I'd help you find a better gym and a better fight team that could meet your needs. And it's not as if, my fight team isn't successful when we go out to these shows and we go out to tournaments. We are doing well with what we're doing in the program that we're building. And we're finding that soft medium where the fighters are not exclusive, that they're in the regular everyday classes and that they're helping people along. And that means so much to developing, again, that next generation of somebody who might want to fight. Maybe people like me that had no interest in fighting at all and spent 2 years just training Muay Thai as hard as I could. And one day shrugged my shoulders and said, I'll give it a shot. You don't know whose mind you're going to change in that. I don't bill myself as a fight gym. We have a very big fight team, but even when I say very big, it's probably less than 5 to 10% of my actual membership base. Everybody should feel welcome in that environment and not being left off to the side, so to speak. And, those, coaches only work with those guys. We don't do that. I think that's very important. And that is something that I've seen at other gyms, both in traveling and locally. And it's like, everybody wants to run their stuff differently. I want to cater to folks that I can give a chance to do something that's extraordinarily difficult, extraordinarily challenging, and not scare them away or make them feel like they don't belong because, their switch kick isn't good. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
If you take 1 step towards me, I'm taking 2 steps towards you. And everybody you see around here that fights, when you show up to support them at these fight nights, they're going to do the same thing because that's what I'm asking of them. And they don't have any problem doing it. If the gym doesn't have that sort of culture and that's something that's important to you, again, find another space.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Just knowing what I know about you and your gym, anyone who sticks around long enough to make the gym's fight team or be part of fight team training is probably also down to earth and humble enough and remembers exactly what it was like when they were starting out and how much they appreciated it when someone more experienced than them, fighter or not, chimed in and be like, hey, here's a little piece of advice. Take this with you. I remember all those incidences when like they didn't have to, but when they did, I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna hold on to this forever, you know?
Yeah.
So just is such a great way to like, yeah, just really stay true to your roots and just keep being humble and keep giving back. The next parts are about insecure coaches. So I made 2 slides on this. The first one, it was like the coach that's kind of pretending to be a life guru. So like they're your coach, but they're also giving you like financial advice that you didn't ask for. I need to preface it that you didn't ask for, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Dating advice that you didn't ask for. Basically trying to like control aspects of your life outside of the gym. And then the slide that I made after this was about coaches that don't know how to say they don't know.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You want me to touch on those? Okay. So listeners better understand my approach to this. Before owning a gym, I spent 17 years in the corporate world, a Fortune 50 company, and I was in leadership for 14 of those 17 years. And going through, droves of leadership, different changes, different levels, advancing, there was one thing that I knew, and that was I didn't I didn't fucking know everything, right? And I couldn't answer every single question. And I having the humility enough to know that, that's the first step. But then also wearing those different hats of like, one of my employees comes to me and says, hey, this is happening, blah, blah, blah. I've got this financial issue. I'm not the guy. Like, I'll sit here and listen to you. I'm happy to listen and I'm happy to point you in the right direction. But I don't have every single answer to life and I don't claim to. So starting there, when having that experience already in leadership of being able to point people in the right direction versus absorb everybody's whatever, that was not my thing. When you have a coach that purports to be the all-encompassing life guru, it can be helpful at times, I guess, because I've been the person on the other side asking the coach, hey man, what about this? It's got nothing to do with Muay Thai. And I'll get a response. But then sometimes you ever feel like you hear those responses and you go like, that might be bullshit. It might be bullshit.
Why did I ask you again?
Yeah, like, really? So I'm very intentional personally about doing my best to not do that. My swim lane again is Muay Thai. You want to ask me about tighter footwork on your switch? Fine, let's talk about that. But DMing me about your partner leaving you at 3 a.m. as to why you can't come to class at 9 a.m, and then wanting to talk more about the relationship than coming to class, like I'm not the guy. I just can't. And I think that's why, you've said it, I said it, like there's therapy out there for that. You can talk to somebody who's qualified. Having somebody that is the all everything also becomes a little bit dangerous because I think that elevation of power dynamic of like, this person's my dad, they're my financial coach, they're my Muay Thai coach, whatever, simple things to complex things, doesn't matter. The coach may start to believe and inflate that ego of, well, hey, like I am the guy. People come to me for everything. And that is where the danger is in letting that ego kind of get out of control and saying, hey, like I am everybody's everything. It's impossible. You can't be. And if you really believe that, then man, like, yeah, there's some work to do there. If you're experiencing that, or if you're the student that is asking your coach anything under the sun, realize that they may have experience in some things and they can give you some good advice outside of being a Muay Thai coach. Like, hey, I am a certified financial planner. Well, great. Then you're accredited to give me some information about that. But if you're not, and dude, like, what kind of opinions are you dropping just from your personal experience? Is your life a wreck or is it great? I would rather talk to somebody and have you talk to somebody that's qualified to answer those. Just be aware of that if there's an answer to every question you have that's not Muay Thai related, I don't know. Might want to be cautious around those answers in that environment.
Yeah, I agree on all fronts. I was also thinking, even for things that are like fighting adjacent, Muay Thai adjacent, like things about prehab, rehab, nutrition, strength and conditioning, chances are your Muay Thai coach isn't educated in it, does not have a certification in it. And they might answer some things again from a good place and being like, well, this is what I learned when I was growing up. But also be really, really careful with that because a lot of people are on the receiving end of just bad information. and bad information that's outdated. And that could be really, really harmful, especially when it comes to things like cutting weight and longevity in the sport.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tread carefully.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, just a couple personal examples. Like, I just had a 16-year-old girl, just turned 17, sign on with us 2 months ago. She's competed once with a different gym at TBAs, and she told me, she's like, I want to go back this year. I know you guys have a team going. I want to pay my dues and settle in. She's very humble, but can I do TBAs with you guys this year? The skill's there, no doubt. She's been trained well, so I was like, yeah, of course you can do that. And she was like, okay, I'm just not sure what weight class to sign up for and blah, blah. And I was like, okay, this is where I need experts that are not a white male head coach talking to a 17-year-old female about what weight she should be signing up for right now. Because women's bodies are extraordinarily different than men. I can talk to my coach, Jared, about like, hey man, you're on 2,800 calories a day now, and the weight's not coming off a week before the fight. That's an easy fix. Like, from experience, I can give you a little bit of knowledge to help with that, but I'm not a nutritionist. Maybe next time you go buy yourself a nutritionist. But with this one, okay, that is now Rachel, Tiffany, and Crystal. That young lady went and talked to the three of them, figured out where she was going to be best, and they helped her through that process. And hopefully we're leading her to success in that. I'm not the guy to answer that question, but I have a team around me that can help with that. And if my team can't help with it, then if you're a fighter, stop being cheap and go buy yourself a nutritionist. They can talk to you about this stuff. I can only tell you how I get to 136 pounds when I do fight, and that's my body. It may not work for you. There, of course, there's generalizations. We'll cut calories, reduce sodium, whatever you might have in your bucket. That's just old knowledge. But it is so important to have people either locally that can address it in the gym better than you, or to go get a professional to help with that. So those fighting adjacent things are very, very, I'm passionate about that as well. It's just, you can't have all the answers, and you just really can't. I'm stuttering about it right now.
Yeah. Like, that's also one of the benefits too, to having a gym with members and people in leadership who are different from you, because they can be the ones to step in and cover some of the areas that you can't. Or if you don't know even which direction to point them to, even if they don't have the knowledge themselves, they could be like, well, but I know someone who does.
Yeah. Yep.
So, just having that diversity, different identities, different life experiences, it really helps for someone who's 17. I mean, I remember when I was 17, what the hell did I know about anything? I was just following whatever stupid ass magazine was telling me to do, So
yeah, I can't have all the answers. I really can't. Again, if you got a coach that does have all the answers, you gotta maybe go fact check some of that stuff. You gotta, is this really right for me? Would that work for me?
Yeah, for sure.
My diet before a fight is not the same as a 17-year-old woman's diet. It's just, it's not. And the changes that are happening with her body are not the same that I experienced when I was 17. So what do I know about it? Fucking nothing. Let's get her somewhere where she can be helped better,
Yeah. I actually had a few more points to make from the carousel slide, but I don't want to keep you here forever. So I'll just end with a question plus anything else you want to add to this. Let's talk about leaving gyms. Like, let's say someone is listening to this, or they are currently already on this like discovering process of like, oh, these are all really, really bad signs of my coach or the place that I'm in or the environment that I'm in. I think it's time for me to leave. If someone is going through that initial thought process, what would you say to them to kind of not guide them, because that's not your responsibility, you don't know who they are, but what would you say to like perhaps what's going to come up after that? Because I know a lot of people, they struggle with like, oh, I feel like I'm going to be a traitor, I feel like I'm going to lose all my friends. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, number one, always considerations. Looking to do what's right for you is not the wrong thing. Right? So if you're feeling unwelcome or whatever feelings that you have, that you're kicking around the idea of going somewhere else because you're not happy where you're at, you have to do what's right for you. And there is an aspect of an element of bravery where you have to eventually just say like, I gotta go. The other consideration I kind of brought up already is that your gym may have trained you really well, and you're like, hey, I've got some skill in this sport, and if I leave this gym, am I going to get the same skill elsewhere? Am I getting the same coaching elsewhere? Just remember, like, your obligation ends with your membership fees. And the people that have trained you up, you may appreciate them and you're going to appreciate them for your whole life because of what they've given you. But it's the other aspects of staying in that environment that make you uncomfortable. If you're in that balancing act, again, going back to you got to do what's right for you. You don't have a long-term obligation or a lifetime obligation to that gym just because they've built some skill into you. The scary part is exactly that, what you brought up. Well, I'm going to lose friends if I leave the gym. I'm going to be ostracized from the Muay Thai community. Yeah, those feelings and thoughts and even reality are sometimes real. When this was my personal experience, yeah, I had folks that I was training partners with, that I was friends with outside of the gym, that when I left just stopped talking. They just stopped talking to me. And some of it was, I feel, intentional, and then some of it also, I'll be honest, was I was very busy. Did I stop talking to them too? I was in the process of opening a gym. Does some of that lie with me? But the folks that I am in contact with, the folks that are still in my life, they were friends to begin with, and they're friends through and through. So the friends that I may have lost, or the friends that chose a side, which is absolutely absurd, honestly, but choosing sides and anything like that, if they felt the need to choose a side and let our relationship go, then I have to realize that our relationship was not that strong to begin with. And it's an unfortunate reality because I care and I like a lot of folks that just don't communicate with me anymore. But the fun thing is about it, if there's a hidden gem in there, is that you make that leap, you have that bravery to step away and do what's best for you. You'll find a community elsewhere. I promise. Like, I have found so many good people and made so many good friends just through different, not even Old Guard. I'm talking about just different gyms around the country. I communicate with people all the time from other gyms, and it's so cool to have a community that's not just the four walls of your gym. And I
Yeah.
think that starts with you being comfortable saying, like, okay, I can step away from this and it's not going to be the end of the world. Like, it might hurt for a couple weeks, a year, a month, whatever it might be. It might be painful for a bit. Dude, like, there's so much out there that can give back to you if you want to let it in, but you have to want to let that kind of stuff in. I've definitely gone through the emotional ringer in many different aspects of leaving a gym and starting a gym. And I have a lot of care and a lot of love for all those coaches that gave me the opportunity and experience to do what I did in my time there. But realizing that that environment wasn't serving me anymore and wanting to do it differently and start a community of my own, that was, I mean, it was probably the toughest thing I've ever done because I was so in love with that sport and that community and that gym. And again, I still have a lot of respect for them. So it's not to be vindictive to anybody. That's important to note too. Like, you're not being vindictive leaving a space that doesn't serve you anymore. And if people on the opposite side are thinking, well, like, he did this or that the wrong way, or they did this, and when they left, they did this to me. It's not, it wasn't about you. It was about me. And that's what people should say. It is about me. It's not about you. You may have done some things or approached the sport in a way that didn't really jive with me, but I'm not blaming you for that. It's just the way that I need to be taught, or the environment that I need to be in. It's not conducive to where I'm at right now. The needs that I have are not conducive to that. So yeah, I'm trying not to offer advice here, but the core of it is, like, stupid statement, but life's going to go on and you're going to be all right, man. And if you love this sport, realize it's the sport you love and maybe not the gym, maybe not the coach. And you can be forever thankful for what they've given you up to that point. But to grow, you've got to step away from it and do something that's going to be good for you, and not just what you feel you may owe to somebody.
There's nothing I can add or change to that. Like, what you said is just so spot on. And hopefully people can apply that to other areas of their life too and value
Yeah.
themselves a little bit better.
Yeah. Muay Thai we all know it's physically demanding. We know that it'll mentally push you to places that you've never been before, and you should be incredibly joyful for the experience that gives you in life. But you got to know that growth it's not just with the same people all the time. You can go elsewhere. I mean, awesome that you and I met and we were hanging out in November in Thailand. And, I've known you now going on, let's say 4 years, just about, that we've had like a good personal relationship, not just me following you on Instagram, which is fantastic, by the way. I love your IG. But yeah, I mean, you step away and realize there's so many good people in the sport that can give you so many different perspectives on it. Just do your best and have fun with it. If you love the sport, love the sport. Go where you're going to be appreciated and learn it best.
I agree. If you're not right now at a place where you are with your people, if you don't leave and try something else, it will be very, very difficult to find your people.
Yeah.
So, in instances of us meeting as well, us getting connected, our mutual friends and stuff like that, none of that would have never happened if we didn't take that leap of faith and chose something for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope I've given you my perspectives on things today.
Thank you.
Again,
Thank you. This is such a great episode on gym culture. How can people find you, your gym?
How to find us? Yeah, if you guys are cool, you're not buttheads, you want to swing through Austin, Texas, and do some fun Muay Thai, you can find us Old Guard Thai Boxing Club on Instagram. We're at the OG Thai Boxing Club. Just look up the website. There's a lot of really good information on there, including Angela's initiative for the Muay Ying sector, and there's a lot of that on our website as well. I hope that if you guys swing through town, that you would check us out, even just come in for a drop-in. Anybody interested in doing very fun, very traditional Muay Thai in a positive environment, we're doing our best out here, and I'd love to see you. Anyway, Dave Moore, signing off, I guess. Angela, thank you so much.
So much for your time. I love this episode.